Easter is coming, and there's so much noise around this time of year. Chocolate eggs are everywhere. People arguing about dates. Some genius insisting the whole thing is secretly about a pagan fertility goddess. So today, we're cutting through all of it, from the resurrection to the Easter bunny. 10 things you need to know about Easter. Easter is the most important day in the entire Christian calendar, full stop. Christmas gets all the films, all the Hallmark specials, the whole month of December and November and even late October dedicated to it. But here's the truth, Christmas without Easter is just a birthday. What makes the birth of Jesus actually matter? What changes everything is what happens at the end, the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. That's Easter, the wild, audacious, history-defining belief that a man died, was buried, and on the third day rose bodily from the dead, not as a metaphor, not as a vibe or a ghost, actually rose. Paul states it bluntly in his first letter to the Corinthians. The whole faith stands or falls on Easter Sunday morning. If Christ has not been raised, our faith is pointless. Easter isn't a quaint springtime celebration. It's the center point of human history. It's the reason Christianity exists at all. Every year, someone asks, why is Easter different on a different day? Why can't it just be fixed, like Christmas? Here's the short version. Easter falls on the first Sunday after the first full moon after the spring equinox. That's the formula, which is why it can land anywhere between the 22nd of March and the 25th of April. This goes back to the very earliest church. The date was deliberately tied to the Jewish Passover, because the Last Supper was a Passover meal. Now there's a bit of drama here. Eastern Orthodox Christians often celebrate Easter on a different day to Catholics and Protestants. Same formula, different calendar. They use the old Julian calendar rather than the Gregorian calendar. Pope Francis proposed a solution, still ongoing. But what's important, Easter's movable date is not random, it's totally intentional. In the early church, Easter wasn't a Sunday morning service and then lunch. They were more intense about it. The centerpiece was the Easter Vigil, the Paschal Vigil, held on a Saturday night. It began in complete darkness. A new fire was lit. A great candle was processed into the church. The congregation gradually had their own candles lit from it, light spreading through darkness. Then came the readings, long ones. 7 Old Testament readings tracing salvation history from creation through the Exodus, reliving the whole story of God and his people through the night, arriving at dawn with the resurrection. And this was the night for baptisms. Converts who had been preparing for sometimes years were baptized at the vigil. Baptism was understood as dying and rising with Christ, so what better night? The early Christians were not messing around. Easter was an all-night, full immersion, life-changing event. We have in many ways domesticated it, but the core of that ancient vigil still sits and is worth experiencing. You've probably seen this claim online. Easter is named after a pagan goddess. Christians just stole a fertility festival. It goes viral every year, and it's complete nonsense. The only ancient source that mentions a goddess called Yostru is the Venerable Bede, a monk writing in 8th century England. He says the month of April was called Yostromanath after her. That is the entire ancient evidence for Yestru. No Roman records, no Germanic inscription, no temple, no other writer. And here's what most people don't know. Most of the world doesn't even use the word Easter at all. In almost every language in Christendom, the word for the Feast of the Resurrection derives from the Latin Pascha, in Italian Pasqua, in French Pâques, in Russian Pashka, in Afrikaans Pasfius, in Zulu Pasika, all from the Hebrew Pesach, Passover. The connection to Passover is linguistically preserved across the world. Easter is a quirk of English and German. To leap from that to Christians secretly worshipping a goddess is quite the trip. The next time someone posts that graphic, you're welcome to teach them the facts. This surprises a lot of people. Easter is not one day, it's not a week, it's not 12 days like Christmas. The Easter season in the Catholic Church runs for 50 days, from Easter Sunday to Pentecost. A week of weeks plus 1. 7 times 7 plus 1. Easter is so significant that one day simply can't contain it. The church spends more time celebrating Easter than preparing for it. So if you've been eating chocolate and then feel Easter is over by Monday evening, liturgically, you've barely started. We've covered where Easter comes from. Now, let's get to the parts people argue about around a dinner table. The color of the priest's vestments at Mass is never an accident. The colors are determined by the liturgical season, and the story they tell is extraordinary. Throughout Lent, purple, the color of penance and preparation. One Sunday in Lent, rose, a liturgical, we're nearly there. Palm Sunday and Good Friday, red, the color of blood and martyrdom. And then Easter arrives, and white takes over for 50 days. White and gold, joy, purity, and victory. The resurrection. This runs all the way from Easter Sunday to Pentecost, where red returns, the tongues of fire, and the bold witness of those who went out to proclaim the gospel. If you would like me to do a video on the liturgical colors, please let me know in the comments. And if you have enjoyed this video so far, please leave a like and subscribe. Let's get back to it. Easter eggs. What would Easter be without them? The connection between eggs and Easter is genuinely Christian in origin and is ancient. The egg is a symbol of new life emerging from what looks dead. A closed shell that suddenly cracks open. It echoes the resurrection. Christians have used it as a symbol for at least 16 centuries. Real eggs, not confectionery eggs. There is a strong tradition in Eastern churches, particularly Ukraine, of intricately painted Easter eggs. These aren't decorations, they're icons. They carry deep theological symbolism. In the medieval Western church, egg painting had a very practical dimension. Eggs were forbidden during Lent. So all the eggs your hens laid in those 40 days, you couldn't eat them. By Easter Sunday, you had a huge pile to celebrate with. Some traditions involved hard-boiling and coloring them, partly just to mark which ones had been laid when. As for chocolate eggs, that's 19th century confectioners spotting a market. Cadbury's made their first chocolate Easter egg in 1875. But the egg, as a symbol of Easter, ancient and deeply Christian. The Easter Bunny, on the other hand, has pretty much nothing to do with Christianity. Rabbits and hares do appear in some medieval Christian art, but the Easter Bunny as we know it, almost certainly German folk tradition. The first clear reference to an Easter hare, the Osterhase, who brings eggs to good children, appears in German texts from the 1600s. German immigrants brought the tradition to the USA in the 1700s and 1800s. From there, it went global. Why a hare? Hares are associated with spring, with fertility, with the moon. And since Easter is a lunar feast, maybe that's it. To be honest, the Easter Bunny is a bit of a mystery even to historians. Is it pagan? Probably not in any organized sense. It's more a folk custom that got commercialized and universalized. And if you've noticed how many chocolate Easter bunnies are in the same mold as chocolate Santas, well, you will now. My take, the Easter Bunny is fine. It's fun for kids. Don't let it eclipse the actual point though, which is that death has been defeated and the tomb is empty. The bunny is optional, that is not. We can't talk about Easter without mentioning Lent, because you can't understand the celebration without understanding the preparation. Lent is 40 days, mirroring Jesus' 40 days in the desert, the Hebrews 40 years in the wilderness, Moses' 40 days on Sinai. It begins on Ash Wednesday. Remember you are dust, and dust you shall return. Lent is a season of fasting, prayer, and almsgiving. You take something on, you give something up, you give something away. So when Easter comes, you feel it. You've been hungry, you've been waiting. And then, an explosion of joy. The Desert Fathers used to say you can't appreciate the resurrection if you've never sat with the death. Lent is how the church makes sure you sit with the death. If you've ever experienced Holy Week in a Catholic or Orthodox church, even if you're not religious, as a piece of communal ritual drama, it is extraordinary. We live in a world that's pretty comfortable with Christmas. Christmas has been absorbed into secular culture as a festival of family and goodwill. Easter is harder to absorb. Easter makes a specific claim. A man died and came back to life. You either believe that or you don't. You can't really launder that claim into a general celebration of spring and chocolate, much as secular society tries to. Here's what's compelling about it. The early Christians were not naive people who believed in the resurrection because they didn't know that dead people stayed dead. They knew. The disciples knew. That's why the empty tomb was so shocking. What turned a group of terrified, hiding, grieving people into a movement that spread across the Roman Empire and ultimately changed the world? Something happened. What you make of what happened? That is the question Easter puts to you. For Christians, the answer is that the resurrection is the cornerstone of everything. It means death doesn't have to have the last word. It means love is stronger than death. It means the universe has hope built into its foundations. That's not a small claim. That's everything. Thank you for watching, and happy Easter.